got the hook down. Yeah, this is it, Mitch. He's got the hook down.
Greg, shut it down.
He's by himself.
Well, here we are at Albatross. This is what we're here for. Just a quick look at the airfield. In the foreground is our liquid oxygen compound. And about to jump out of that herc are some parachutists. There they go. And down the row of hangars, and you can see there some of the old Grumman trackers that used to operate off the aircraft carrier. And there we've got the Hercules that the parachutists were jumping out of coming into land. And there's a wee bit of a wind there today, crosswind. Hard on the brakes. Pretty short landing, that one. You can just see the arrestor gear cable that's across the runway there. The arrestor gear is down by that 1 marker. And he'll taxi back over and pick up some more parachutes. And here's what we're here for. One of our Skyhawks coming back. So the buzz and brake, he's going to come in and land. And here he comes around to land. The trees at the end of the runway, they're very close to the end of the runway, so when they're taking off the other way with a heavy gas load, that's where they get very close to the trees. There he goes down and he'll deploy his chute. There it is. The chute, now he'll taxi down to the end of the runway. Yeah, he's taxiing past all the other aircraft, mainly the old trackers and that. As I was saying before, they've been sitting there a long time, and they've just been sold to a South American country that's going to re-engine them and refurbish them and fly them. They're going to put turboprops on them. So they're hardly at the moment trying to get them airworthy again so they can fly them down to Melbourne, where they're getting put on a ship and sent to South America. Pretty interesting how they're putting them back together, because most of them haven't got wings on them or anything like that. The hangar you can see them taxiing behind, in front of now, is our maintenance hangar. That's where the aircraft are kept at night. And we share that with the Skyhawk helicopter squadron, and that's their headquarters building you can see beside the hangar. And there's 3 of them sitting down there, and their flight line's right beside ours. At the moment we've got 3 aircraft in the air. And here they are, we're back on the line at Nowra. 5-4 in the foreground is the one that I went for a fly in the back of the Ohakea. About 2 years ago now, I suppose. The one I went for a fly the other day was 5-5, which is in the hangar at the moment. 09 is one of our original Skyhawks. This is 54. One next to it is 05. That's one of our original ones. And then the one right down the road is 56, which is one of the ex-Australian Navy ones. At the moment, it's being refueled. Something we do quite often is changing drop tanks. And there's a couple of our guys taking drop tanks from out of G hangar all the way down to J hangar, where they're going to put them on one of our aircraft. And there's the tanker drivers sitting watching the aircraft getting refueled. And of course the very important number 2 squadron logo on the tail. And there's my neighbour Twiglet doing a daily. Now there's a familiar mouth. It's Tony's mouth. Better get a shot of him, seeing it's his camera. There's Paul, one of our armourers, checking the ejection seat as part of his daily. And here's me up on one of our single seaters looking into the cockpit. I'm about to go down there somewhere and look for a piece of FOD, foreign object, that's been dropped in the cockpit by the pilot. It's probably under the seat there somewhere. So the fire brigade are having a practice evacuation of the control tower, and the control tower is on practice fire. This is our flight line area. It's quite a long way from our hangar. And this is our flight line buildings. And here we have our just crew room that we wait for the pilots, whatever. It's a nice air-conditioned room. A little sink and toaster and everything there for us. When we're working on the line, we have lunch out here and that sort of thing. And this is the flight line with Twiggy again. And this is our board where we put all our flights today. And who's on what. see up there who does what. This is our computerised maintenance system known as Alice. What we're looking at now is part of the Navy's historic flight. They've got an old B model Iroquois which they still fly, and we're looking down the row of trackers, and there's one down there that's going to start up in a minute. But you can see the condition of the trackers here. They've got no engines, some of them haven't got any wings, tails, and amazingly they're being put back into service by another Air Force. This is in one of the historic flight hangars, and what you've got here is a ferry gannet, which they used to operate off the aircraft carriers. It's one of very few left in the world, and this one's just been restored for their museum. It's a really nice nick. Probably could fly if they had the money to fly it. We've also got in here a Sea Venom and a few old helicopters and various other bits. And here's one of the trackers that's being restored to fly. And of course you'll recognise that as being an unusual shape, it's being a MiG-15. Sitting behind that is the museum's Skyhawk, which they've got a lot of work to do on to bring it up to the standard that their Skyhawks were. This one was a B model that they've got, and it's totally different to their Gs. As you can see the nose is off it, and they're totally reworking the nose to make it look like a G. But that MiG's a really sweet machine. It's a two-seater, and you can see there the two seats of the MiG with the Skyhawk in the back. The MiG's drop tanks, which they can fit to. And then there they've got a Fairy Firefly, which they fly occasionally, not flying at the moment. And there's a sight to behold. This is the museum's airworthy tracker, which they fly quite regularly. Every week it flies. And it flies at all the air shows around the country. It's flown by the base commander who used to fly them on the carrier. Also in the hangar there they've got one of their old Westixes and another tracker, which is another airworthy one. So in a minute the tracker's going to unfold his wings. full of Sea Furies in here, which they're restoring, hopefully to fly. And that's the back of the Sea Venom and Gannet again. A lot of work to be done on those Sea Furies though. And this is Albatross, and the big hangar you're looking at there is the new museum hangar, which is absolutely huge. It's only got a roof on that at this stage. They haven't got enough money to put the walls on it, but there's a few old aircraft in there. And there's the rest of the hangars down that side with all the old aircraft that I've shown you already. And the tower, and there's one of the runways. And this one's the short one. This is where we have a few problems. You can see the big dip in it. It's uphill most of the way going from the other end, but it's downhill from this end. But there's the trees at the other end. The other runway goes out there. Right, where I'm now is up on the hill above the airfield called Nowra Hill, and that's where you can see the airfield radar is. If we just pan down to where the Hercules and the parachute is, look it off, and there's base and our flight line and hangar and that away over there. And this is one of the runways. You can see the big dipper in it. It's downhill from the other way, but uphill from this way. Makes for some interesting takeoffs too. And over the other side of the airfield we've got the bomb dump area. Not much kept in there these days though. And here come those goddamn noisy Kiwi Skyhawks. Doing a buzz and brake over the airfield, which is right below them. Slowing down and pulling the undercarriage down to come around to land. And there's the other one. You can see how effective their camouflage is against that green background. Imagine when they're down low and fast, they're just so hard to see from above. It's going down very close to touching down right on the end of the runway there. And that's our hangar again, you can see. There's the other fella. So hard to see, I can't even see him. Shoots out, and I'm looking for two more Skyhawks, and there they go. Split up a bit here so they get separation for their buzz and brake.
And Air Force have teamed up with their New Zealand counterparts to play war games off the south coast of New South Wales. More than 2,500 sailors and airmen took part in the joint maritime and air exercises. The simulated situations include dealing with air attacks and the threat of submarines. The exercises test and evaluate the operational readiness of the sailors and pilots.
And New Zealand forces. The ocean battle involved dozens of aircraft and vessels as air and sea forces took part in the free game exercise. New Zealand A4 Skyhawks mounted waves of mock attacks while personnel aboard the HMAS Brisbane battled to shoot down the enemy. More than 11 vessels and dozens of aircraft have taken part in WarX. The fleet repositioned tomorrow to take part.
It's part of a top-level exercise involving 2,500 sailors and airmen.
Hands to action stations, hands to action stations.
12 vessels have been doing battle for the past 2 days. Their objective is simple: destroy each other while defending themselves against enemy aircraft.
System on aircraft at 057.
To prove the war games were serious, gunners aboard HMAS Brisbane returned fire with live ammunition. Brisbane survived the mock battle despite a fire and berthed in Sydney this morning. But peacetime is short. Tomorrow she sets sail for another battle across the Tasman.
Saab Gripen